Welcome back. It is the Flow Friday Sports Show here on your Colour of Country Life, Flow FM. And we're looking at Hume Netball now. And Aimee Riley joins me on the line, our correspondent from that competition. Aimee, great to be back with you again. How are you?
I'm great, thanks, Alice. It's always a pleasure and looking forward to another fantastic weekend of netball after a bye.
Yes, it was a bye round indeed. How did some of the clubs from around the competition spend the bye week? We asked you this question last week, whether there'd be a whole lot of action going on internally throughout the weekend. Did everyone just enjoy a rest?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people did enjoy a rest, and we still have, as I mentioned, other local competitions going on in terms of the O&M and Toowoomba League, and there was a few good games of netball going on in Melbourne and some football as well. So I know a lot of the girls took the opportunity to go down and go see the sights in Melbourne or get away and just have some time off. There was a few that went to some areas that had some beaches. And, yeah, most of them just really enjoyed the break and took an opportunity to refresh before we head into the last third of the season.
What are these beach areas you're speaking of at this time of the year, Aimee?
Oh, I don't know. I think they involve a plane ride and going somewhere up into Queensland.
That's quite different,
isn't it? Few of them. Yeah.
Escaping north. No, fair enough. I would do the same. All right. Well, I got to break this down with you. The age-old question, who enjoys the bye round the most? Is it the sort of more veteran players who can sort of plan around their families, or is it the younger ones who might be able to get out and socialise a little bit more instead of worrying about some sore heads, on a Sunday? Who exactly gets around them the most?
That's an interesting question, isn't it? Because I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer to that. I think it would come down to each person individually. I can certainly see both sides. I mean, a lot of the younger people, as you mentioned, would really enjoy the opportunity to have their Saturday to themselves, go out and see some sights, spend some time with some friends, and then definitely the more mature heads of the group would, I'm sure, certainly appreciate a week off and having the ability to give their body a break. But I know that sometimes when we do have the break and we go back into it, it does suck a little bit at some points too. And I know that there's quite a few clubs that have been carrying some injuries. So I certainly think it was a well-timed break for everyone to be able to recoup a little bit and reset. And I'm sure no matter how everyone decided to use their bye and whether they enjoy having it or not, I'm sure everyone will be very glad to get back on the court.
Very diplomatically answered, as always. Let's take a look at the fixtures coming up in round 13. We're really getting towards that home stretch, aren't we? Big round 13 ahead, particularly given that Osborne had a real run for their money 2 weeks ago against How Long. They'll have to get back to their best, and they'll have an easy enough chance to do that at home to CDHBU, but it'll all be about how they play and getting back up to their best levels after a bit of a scare against How Long, won't it?
Yes, absolutely. I think one thing that we've taken out of the last couple of weeks, now that we've started moving through the games again, certainly something of note last week as we restarted going back through all the teams, was that a lot of the margins have shrunk, and I expect that to continue. We've talked a lot about throughout the season how we've had quite a few clubs have a lot of turnover and they've had a lot of new players. And certainly in the first couple of weeks of the season, when you've had that much change, it does take some time to settle. So whilst I do expect Osborne to win, CDHBU have significantly improved as a team. They're playing some fantastic netball now and certainly have developed immensely in comparison to what they were at the start of the season. So I do expect the margin to be smaller, even though Osborne will likely walk away with the win. But again, we also can't underestimate Osborne. They are an absolute firepower. They are looking to head into finals really strong, and I know that they will want to make sure that they absolutely put their foot down in every game.
Holbrook will be hunting down the points on the weekend. Brocklesby, Burrumbuttock, Saints standing in the way of them and achieving that goal. Will it be easy enough for them to get the win?
I know Holbrook were probably unnecessarily hard on themselves in their game against Jindera. They were, I think it's fair to say, unhappy with how they played their game, and they'll be looking to bounce back really strong. And that takes nothing away from the game that they played last week either, because I certainly think it was still an excellent game. But BB Saints will be also looking to try and establish themselves and really get a pattern of games going to finish on a high with the end of their season, even though they won't make finals. I do expect Holbrook to win this game, but certainly Saints have got a lot of mature heads and they have also had a lot of improvement, so I wouldn't be surprised if this margin is smaller either.
You mentioned Jindera before. They've got Howlong at home. Who did Howlock upset as far as the fixture people go with regards to the last couple of weeks? Because they're really being given quite a big task having to play Osborne and Jindera in successive weeks.
Yeah, certainly. That is the whole start of the draw this year. I looked at it and I thought, man, the top three teams from last year, Howlong, Osborne and Jindera, play each other in the first couple of rounds. Like it was a tough start to the season. And it's tough coming back into that run again, but it'll prep these teams really nicely for finals as well and give them all another opportunity to have a look at each other again. So I certainly think sometimes when you play a team once, you're not quite sure what you're going to come up against in finals, but certainly if you've played them a second time, it gives you a bit of a better understanding. This is the game of the round for me, Jindera Howlong. I think there will be a lot of fantastic netball that comes out of this. Both teams are highly skilled. Jindera, I know, are still without a couple of players. I'm not sure where Howlong's sitting if they will have their full complement. I do expect this to go down to the wire. At this point in time, I think Jindera may get on top, but if Howlong roll them, I won't be surprised.
Would you, as a player, prefer to get the harder games out the way earlier on?
I think regardless of where you play them, you're still going to have to play them. And the way I look at it is that you want to be playing your best netball coming into finals. So regardless of where you finish in the season, as long as you make the top six, you absolutely have a chance. But for me personally, I enjoy playing the harder teams twice because it gives you that opportunity to play some really strong netball. It all comes down to, with how our league does it though, it goes on our point for our club championships for each year. That's how the draw is done. So ultimately it comes down to where the whole club finished last year and that's to who you play twice. But again, you still have to play everyone at least once. So that's the beauty of it.
Might not be by a massive margin, but you'd expect Henty to get the job done at home against the Crows, Aimee?
Crows we've talked about it a few times. They've got some of their girls back now, and I think they will be a different looking side when they come up against Henty this time. I do still think that Henty will get it done. I absolutely agree, but also agree with the sentiment that it will likely be a smaller margin.
All right, and just to finish, you'd expect both away sides in Culcan and Murray Magpies to potentially struggle this weekend in their games. Culcan up against Lockhart. How do you think that one's going to go?
I saw Lockhart recently, and I think they are playing some fantastic netball at the moment. Culcan also, again, very much improved. They've had 2 really good wins this season, and they have been pushing teams. I do expect Lockhart to get the win in that one. Giants Magpies is an interesting one because Magpies have been playing some excellent netball and Giants have had a couple of girls out with injuries and have probably been having to make a bit of shift in some positional changes across their team, which they've certainly adjusted really well. But if some girls are still out, which I'm not sure if they are or aren't, I think that Magpies could get the best of them if they play their best game and Giants are a few girls short.
There we go, that game being played in Walla. I'll just ask you, before we do finally conclude this conversation, do you see Jindera potentially slipping up at all in the next 6 more rounds of netball between now and finals? Do you feel as though they're vulnerable? There's chink in the armour there. Aimee, what do you reckon? Because we've seen it happen with Osborne once so far this season. So Jindera will have that pressure on them to go undefeated between now and finals. Do you think it can happen?
I suppose there's a couple of things to factor into this. One is I don't know if Jindera will have their full team, their full complement of players before they reach finals again. I know they've got a couple of girls that have got a few games that they're missing for. Additionally to that, aside from Jindera being an excellent team this year, that doesn't take away from how excellent Osborne and Howlong are as teams. And I think no matter how good Jindera is, Osborne and Howlong is still fantastic. And if they play an excellent game, they're absolutely capable of beating them, regardless of how good or bad Jindera play as well. So for me, that top 3, it's still anyone's game at the moment, and that doesn't take away from the teams that are vying for 4th, 5th and 6th. But I do think that Jindera, Osmond, Howling are a step above the rest. Holbrook are probably in that as well, and Henty certainly can push those teams on their best days. But those three, for me, any of them on any day will be an excellent competition, and it could go either way.
Aimee Riley, great to chat with you, and good luck on the weekend. Enjoy watching all the netball. We'll speak to you again next week.
Thanks so much. I look forward to catching up.